I was peeling figs in the kitchen when the group chat lit up. At first, I didn't even look. Mateo was setting the table, the sun was warm, and the sea outside made everything feel far away, especially them. Then came the voice note from my mother. "Girls, we did it. Such a beautiful meeting. So proud of you, Isa." And then the pictures started loading. There she was, Isabella, smiling, surrounded by people in suits, standing next to my father. Behind them, a banner I recognized. The brand concept I had worked on for 2 years, but now, repackaged, shinier, louder, and under her name. The caption read, "The face of the new generation." I froze, not just because of the image, but because of the silence that preceded it. No heads up, no message, nothing. I scrolled. My name wasn't anywhere, but the part that made my stomach turn wasn't the omission. It was the timing. They waited. They waited until I was across the ocean, until I was in another time zone, until I was happily married and on vacation. That was the window. That's when they made the announcement. That was when it hit me. They hadn't forgotten. They'd chosen not to tell me. I turned to Mateo. They did it without me. He looked confused. I handed him the phone. He read, blinked, looked at me. "Did you know this was happening?" I shook my head. Apparently, neither did I. "I'm Elena. I'm 30. I've never missed a quarterly meeting. I built the operational spine of my father's company before I was old enough to legally rent a car. I don't like cameras. I don't crave applause. I just believe in showing up and making things work. But apparently, that's invisible now." I stared at the photo of Isabella, all shine and perfect posture. The kind of picture you post on LinkedIn with a quote like, "She believed she could, so she did." No mention that someone else built the ladder. They sent a message later, just to loop me in. My mother wrote, "We didn't want to stress you. You seemed so relaxed over there. We thought Isa could hold the fort." I didn't reply. I closed the chat, turned off the notifications, left the figs half peeled, and for the first time in years, I felt something in my chest. Not sadness, not confusion, not even betrayal, just stillness, the kind that comes right before a storm. And I realized something else. It wasn't the first time they'd moved while I was gone. Once when I was 10, I came back from a sleepover and found my books moved to the hallway shelf to make space for Isa's crafts. My mother had smiled like it was nothing, but I'd cried under my blanket that night, not because of the books, but because no one even noticed. I didn't see it at first. When you grow up in it, silence doesn't seem strange. It just becomes the shape of things. There were 3 of us, 3 sisters. Me, the oldest, the one who did what was expected without being asked. Isabella, the golden girl, all charm, wide eyes, and high-effort everything. And Natasha, the quiet one, too small, too soft-spoken, too easy to forget. I used to think our dynamic was normal, that all families had an order, a hierarchy, a rhythm, but the older I got, the more I realized our rhythm had a price, and I'd been the one paying it. When I was 9, I won the regional science fair, built a solar-powered water filter out of recycled bottles. My parents clapped politely. The next day, Isabella brought the project to school for show and tell. She didn't build it, didn't even understand it. But she smiled wide, explained it like she had, and got a feature in the school newsletter. No one said anything. Not my parents, not the teacher, not even me. That was the beginning. After that, Isabella learned she didn't have to beat me. She just had to be seen more. She volunteered for things I planned, repeated my ideas louder, took over my spot at dinner tables with a joke or a compliment, and she always got praised for stepping up, Meanwhile, I became the backdrop, the structure, the one they could depend on, because I'd already proven I didn't need attention. And Natasha? She watched. I used to think she was too young to understand, but now I know better. She saw everything. Once, when I was 16 and Isabella threw a birthday party that accidentally landed on the same weekend as my academic award trip, I found a sticky note on my bedroom door. It was from Natasha. She'd drawn 3 sticks. Figures, one with a medal, one with a tiara, and one with glasses. Underneath, she wrote, "Some people wear sparkle. Some people are sparkle." I kept that note for years, taped it inside my journal. I don't know if she even remembers, but I do. Back then, I didn't know what to do with the feeling. That knot in my throat when my ideas showed up in Isabella's voice. The ache of being called independent when I just wanted to be included. The sting of watching my parents cheer for a version of me that wasn't actually me. Now I do. That day in Italy, when I saw the photo, wasn't a surprise. It was just the loudest echo of a pattern I had lived with my whole life. My grandfather started the company making soaps in his backyard. No fancy marketing, no influencers, just plants, knowledge, and patience. My father turned that into a full brand, Alver, a family company rooted in natural cosmetics, long before that became trendy. I joined early, built the sourcing system, structured supply chains, standardized production. The unseen engine. I never asked to be the face. I just wanted the formula to work. Isabella, on the other hand, worked the room before she ever worked, the floor. She joined later, after a failed stint in communications, and suddenly wanted to modernize everything. New labels, brighter packaging, social media campaigns. She was always pitching something, always with a smile and a story that didn't need fact-checking. People loved it. My mother adored her energy. "She's magnetic," she said once. "You're practical. She's passion." My father shrugged. As usual. "You always figure it out, Elena. She needs a little push." So I stepped back. I focused on product testing, sustainability protocols, ingredient sourcing. She focused on mood boards and hashtags. It was a strange balance, but I let it be. I believed there was space for both of us. Then came the summit in Barcelona. I was there to present our regional supply model. It was small, technical, but meaningful. After my talk, a man from another panel approached. Italian, sharp suit, soft voice, curious eyes. Matteo. He knew the science, understood the mission, asked the kind of questions most people skimmed over. We talked until the lights dimmed, and again the next day, and again the next. When I got home, Isabella had already posted about the summit. She hadn't gone, but she'd shared graphics, insights, quotes. "Proud of our journey," she wrote. "A family legacy built by passion." No mention of my name. Natasha walked by my desk, saw my screen and said, "She's allergic to credits." Then she walked off, sipping tea. Matteo and I kept in touch. At first about formulas, later about food, eventually about life. He never commented on Isabella, but when he came to visit the factory, he watched her closely. Afterward, he said, "She speaks like she's always on camera." I laughed. "That's just how she is." He didn't laugh. "That's not how it should be." I started noticing the shift. Clients emailed her first. Staff started calling her boss lady. Then came the launch event. I had spent weeks coordinating every detail. It was my product line, my team, my concept. But when the host took the stage and thanked Isabella and her assistant for such a beautiful campaign, I felt my stomach drop. No one corrected him. My mother clapped. My father smiled. Isabella waved like it was deserved. I swallowed, hard. smiled, said thank you after the applause. Later, when I brought it up, my father said, "It's not worth making a scene." My mother said, "She was the face. You were the foundation. That's how teams work." Isabella? She just looked at me and said, "Maybe take this time to reflect." So I did. But what they didn't realize is that roots don't stop growing just because the spotlight shifts. The wedding was small. A courtyard in Florence. Olive branches instead of roses. No drama, no excess. Just quiet vows and people who meant it. Matteo didn't want a spectacle. Neither did I. After years of organizing everyone else's chaos, I wanted simplicity, something mine. We stayed in Italy longer than planned. Just a few weeks became a few months. I kept remote hours, checked emails, stayed in touch. But for the first time in a decade, I let the company run without me. Matteo encouraged it. "You've earned stillness," he said. "Let them stand without your hands holding the walls." I thought he meant rest. I didn't realize he meant, watch what happens when you're not holding it up. Before we left, Natasha came by with a small suitcase I'd left at the office. As she handed it over, she looked at me. Not smiling, not sad. Just level. "Make sure to come back to something worth returning to," she said. I remember brushing it off. "It's just a vacation." She raised an eyebrow. "Not for everyone." In Italy, I cooked again. I slept through the night. Matteo and I explored small farms, studied ancient formulations, laughed at cheesy translations on skincare packaging. I felt present, lighter, but Matteo never stopped watching. We video called my parents. My mother asked more about Isabella than about me. My father said the factory was fine, Issa's handling things. They never asked for updates, never requested a report. Matteo noticed. After one call, he looked at me and said, "You're being airbrushed out." I frowned. That's dramatic. He didn't answer. Just went back to washing the dishes. I checked the company Instagram. Isabella's face was everywhere. Tutorials, quotes, throwbacks. She'd even started signing off posts with "from our family to yours." I told myself it was temporary. Just branding. Just filler while I was gone. Then came the interview. A small beauty podcast, barely known. But there she was, Isabella, telling the host how the company had evolved and was now more aligned with modern values. She spoke like she'd led the change, like she had built the journey. I paused the video halfway through. Matteo asked, "Want to talk about it?" I shook my head. "I'll handle it when we're back." He looked at me for a moment, then nodded. "You always say that. The question is, what will be left to handle?" The silence after that event wasn't peaceful. It was loud, thick, full of things I didn't say. Matteo noticed. I didn't bring it up, but he knew. I think he always knew more than I let on. One night, over dinner, he slid a folder across the table. A proposal. From a European distributor. High-end. Expanding to South America. They wanted someone who understood both the product and the soul behind it. Someone who could build from the ground up, without needing applause. "They're scouting," he said. "They've done their homework. You were at the top of their list." I hesitated. My name had always been tied to my father's brand. It felt like ripping roots out of the earth. But Matteo looked at me and said, "Maybe it's time to stop planting gardens in houses where you're only allowed to water them." That stayed with me. Still, I didn't say yes. Not yet. I kept going to the office. I answered emails. I nodded in meetings where Isabella did the talking, until Natasha sent me a message. No words, just a screenshot from our internal system. The file was mine. A strategy proposal I'd built months ago. Except now it had a different title. A new file name. Author. Isabella Marquez. I stared at it. The formatting was identical. The references, the structure, mine. Underneath the screenshot, Natasha had typed, "I figured you should see it before it's presented at the next board meeting." No drama, no fire, just evidence. I didn't reply. I just got up, walked to the archive room, printed 3 key documents from my private folder, and emailed them, not to my father, not to HR, but to the legal department of the new company Mateo had mentioned. Later that night, Mateo asked, "Did you think it had come to this?" I said, "I didn't think at all. That's how they trained me." He nodded once. "So?" I said yes. We didn't toast. There was no speech, just pasta on the stove and silence in the kitchen. The next morning, I told no one. I arrived at work like usual, greeted everyone. Took my meetings, signed off on supply orders, smiled when Isabella walked past, humming. She looked content, maybe because she thought I was done fighting. She was right. I wasn't fighting anymore. I was leaving. The hall buzzed with champagne and surface-level admiration. I recognized the crowd, suppliers, press reps, familiar executives with familiar handshakes. The kind of room where reputation sticks like perfume. My father was there. So was my mother. Isabella stood between them, radiant in a white tailored suit, talking to the moderator with the ease of someone used to praise. They weren't expecting me. I hadn't been invited, at least not by them. My new company handled it, quietly, strategically. They didn't advertise my name in the program. They just saved me for the keynote. I waited backstage, listening to Isabella's voice echo from the panel discussion. She talked about heritage, about growing up inside a family brand, about learning leadership from the inside out. She was eloquent, flawless, rehearsed. Mateo stood behind me, calm, present. Natasha was seated in the 3rd row. I saw her from the side curtain. She didn't blink once. Then came the switch. The moderator thanked Isabella and introduced the next segment, Leadership Through Legacy, From Tradition to Impact. No names, just the theme. The lights shifted. My cue. I stepped onto the stage. For a second, the crowd didn't register it. Then I saw my mother's hand tighten around her glass. My father leaned forward. Isabella froze mid-conversation. The screen behind me lit up. My name, my new role, the logo of the company that had quietly absorbed 2 of our most valuable contracts. I didn't look at my family. I didn't need to. My voice was steady. Some of us inherit legacies. Some of us build them quietly, brick by brick, unseen. And sometimes, when no one's watching, we take what they left behind and build something they can't reach. No applause cue. No dramatic pause. I just stepped down. As I walked off stage, Isabella moved toward me, half smile, half confusion. "Didn't know you were speaking," I smiled back. "That makes 2 of us." Behind me, the crowd started whispering. In front of me, Natasha stood. She didn't clap. She just nodded, once, and mouthed something only I could see. "Now, they see you." The morning after the event, my phone buzzed 3 times. The first was a voice message from Isabella. She sounded restrained. "Hey, I didn't know you were part of that project. You could have said something. It felt personal." Pause. "Anyway, congrats." I didn't press play again. The second was a long text from my mother. "We didn't mean to hurt you. You've always been the strong one. We thought Issa needed the stage more than you did. Please, let's not turn this into something ugly. You're still part of us." Still, as if I'd left, as if they hadn't, made the decision long before I stopped answering. I didn't reply to her either. I spent the morning walking alone. No headphones, no calls. Just streets, bricks, leaves falling sideways. I let the noise of the world be louder than their attempts to reclaim what they'd discarded. Later that afternoon, I got a single line from Natasha. No greeting, no preface. "So, what now?" "This time," I answered. "Now I don't ask for a seat. I build the room." She replied with a dot. That was her way. I closed the phone, let it fall beside me on the bed. Mateo came in quietly, held out a mug of tea. Said nothing. He didn't need. To outside, things kept moving. Inside, I felt intact, not triumphant, not vindicated. Just finally seen, by the only people who bothered to look without conditions. I didn't make a post. I didn't issue a press statement. I didn't tag anyone. Or thank anyone. Sometimes, healing isn't loud. It's not a scream or a slam or a flawless clapback. Sometimes it's just not replying, not defending, not correcting, not trying to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is absolutely nothing. If you've ever been the quiet one, the overlooked, the independent, the safe pair of hands, leave a quiet sign below. And if you're tired of shrinking for people who never saw you, subscribe. We don't raise our voices here. We reclaim them. If you've ever been the quiet one, the overlooked, the independent, the safe pair of hands, leave a quiet sign below. And if you're tired of shrinking for people who never saw you, subscribe. We don't raise our voices here. We reclaim them.